In a first robotics competition, the drive team performs two separate yet equally important functions, scoring points for their alliance through driving and coordination, and performing maintenance and repair between matches. These are their stories.
When we were in the queue, the last match was about to end, so we would be rolling our robot card up soon.
We were in the pit line, and when we're there, the first thing we do is we always reset all of our encoders and everything so our arm knows the positions it needs to be in.
We need a mallet under the arm to hold it, and then we need to pull the wrist up and then back down to its midpoint to reset it. And we accidentally enabled it while the mallet was still under it, so it tried to crush itself.
The robot got enabled, the arm went down, and snapped both chains.
We did the whole reset process, it all worked. But then the first thing it does when you enable the robot is that it drives the arm down into its, down into the base of the robot, into its lowest position. And this was a problem because we'd forgotten to take out the stick like we normally did. And so the arm tried to drive itself into that stick. And the stick didn't move, and so we ended up breaking both chains and the gears on both sides of our robot, on the two gearboxes that move the main arm.
We're sitting in the queue line, getting ready to go for our match, and watching the other match complete, and all the students are back there getting the pregame stuff set, getting the arm calibrated, getting everything going. I'm watching the other stuff, and I hear kapow! And I know that sound, unfortunately. That's the chain.
I was over checking the logs, and then I heard this massive snapping sound as the robot enabled, and saw bits of chain lying around. One of the members of another team came up to us and held up a little bit of chain that had broke off and flown probably a good 6 feet over to them.
We've lost the wrist before, and we're able to rope it up into a way that we can still score, but we've never lost our arm before. So this was a very bad break right at the worst possible time. So we had to go to our alliance members and say, at the last possible moment, look guys, we can't do anything at this point.
I whipped around, I look, and the students are, it's panic. And, we were trying to figure out what to do, looking at what broke, how it broke. Quickly we discovered that this was a pretty catastrophic break. There's no way we were going to be able to repair this in time. And, I'm a native Texan, an instinct kicked in. So, get the rope, guys. We roped that sucker back down, tied it up so nothing would run away, and we put that robot on the field.
We tied the arm down into the center of the robot so we could still play defense.
We immediately had to run over and grab the rope, and we roped it up so that it was kind of inside of itself, and we got it into a position where most of it was inside of its frame perimeter, and then we took off the wheels off of our intake. This meant that we could get the whole robot inside of its frame perimeter, and we could at least play defense.
At that point, I was freaked out because literally our entire robot was inoperable except for the drivetrain.
I was thinking of how we could get the arm into a place that we could still drive the robot.
Basically, half of it was should have checked it before. I was actually the one that enabled it, but normally we'll double check it. And there wasn't enough time to actually react and check it, so we ran out of time and it died.
My personal thoughts during this whole process was, oh no, because we really needed to look good on that match, and where we were in the rankings, we also really needed to do well in that match. And so we were lucky that we were with some good alliance partners who could kind of carry us through that match, but it was not a good situation at that point. We were in a lot of trouble. Plus, fixes like this, for us, take a long time because there's so much disassembly of the actual robot that has to happen. While we have spares of those parts to get at them and do the whole assembly work, I expected it would take a while, and I was really hoping we wouldn't miss our next match as well.
This is always a tough situation, and it's both a very stressful situation, but it's also frankly, it's a wonderful learning moment. This is when the students get to see not only how they operate under pressure, how their peers operate under pressure, and really get to exercise the knowledge and skills they've gained through the season. So this was an off-season event. So this isn't like a make or break. We're going to die at World Champs kind of event. This is for fun, and so we're doing this for fun. But we're competing, and as you can see in the videos, the kids are competing with their hearts and all of their energy. And this was a great example of something broke. What do? everybody, in the back of their minds knows this isn't going to, kill the team, but they're all just so invested that we want to make this work. So when these kind of things happen, this is when we really have to, as the adults, step back, take the breath, and say, okay, let's walk through what happened. How did it happen? What broke? How did it break? What were the mistakes? What are the lessons we learned? But then in that moment right then, it's like, okay, here's what happened. That's fine. How do we fix it and get the robot back on the field? And that is really the key thing in this environment is how do you fix that robot in a way that maybe it's not the perfect fix, but what's the right fix to get it back on the field and be competitive? And we really look to see how can we put those pieces together and field a robot that the kids can go compete with and not just be sitting on the field doing nothing. Moving the arm again. That's how it works. Fine. Did you bend it? Did we bend the sprocket? Oh.
That was kind of our last chance to be able to be operational on the field for the next match without having to put in some incredible rush and the fastest repair I think we've ever made to the arm. So at that point, the entire pit goes crazy, and we're all frantically trying to fix the arm with everybody, loosening gearboxes.
Our first test, once we got it back together, the chain slipped off. What we think happened was that the arm can actually slide back and forth a little bit. And so when it does that, it means the chain's kind of in a weird spot. And so when you actually try and move it, the chain comes off.
I kind of knew what the problem was because we've had it before. It was the alignment of the entire arm. So we all knew the fix, so we just had to mallet it over to get it to fix and realign.
I was thinking of what could have caused this and how we can put it back into position.
That was not fun. It's never fun to see your fixes fail right before you have to get on the field.
I'm always panicked whenever the robot breaks, but I keep cool and think of what we could do and how we can fix it.
Under that stress, it's hard to do everything in the right order because the stress just gets to you and it makes you not think in the right way.
When we started to test the final repair, and we see that there's an alignment problem, and the chain's not quite staying on the sprockets where it needs to. As we go to full extension of the arm, the chain starts to pop off the sprockets. There was definitely a panic moment amongst the students, and you can see in the video where I get on the side of the robot and just had to put the mass of the Mentor into action to try and line the arm back up. And what we realized was that there was a slight difference in how we had reassembled things that shifted it by about that half a chain width. And we had to come up with a way to get it realigned and to hold it in alignment for the rest of that match. So my thinking when it happened was, this is what happens on the side of the field when something breaks. You get different things get torqued out of line. The first thought I was like, oh no, we bent something. But really it was just a matter of getting it all back in alignment because it got tweaked so hard that it had jumped out of position. So, this is a great one to see, learn your system, know your system, and know how to fix it.
Nine's about to start.
Team 6377, you're leaving on the field for calls 10. Team 6377 is into the field.
One of us needed to go to the queue, so we didn't get red carded.
With our robot not ready, we had to send a human player to the field so that if we weren't there for the match, we would have a stand-in to say that we weren't there for the match.
It kind of turned into a rush. We were all kind of panicking, trying to get onto the field. We knew we wouldn't be fully functional, but we were still trying to work fast to get to that point.
Whenever they announce your name that you needed on the field, that means you're in the match that's right about to play. So you need to be in the queue line, and as soon as the next match ends, you're on. It was really rush, trying to get the last few things done. It wasn't necessarily about perfect fixes anymore. It had to last till the end of that match, and then, or at least be able to do something.
3 other teams asked me, is your robot going to be on the field? And I honestly had to say I didn't know, because it was a race against time to know if or if not we would actually fix the arm.
First thing that goes through your mind is, okay, are we able to field this robot as it is and compete, or do we have to decide to disable a certain function? The students were checking the systems. We said, are you ready? Let's talk it out. And we started rolling as fast as we could.
On the walk to the queue line, there was a few things that were important. We had to make sure we had to talk about strategy and that everything got reset, and hopefully we didn't break it this time.
When I saw that card, I was incredibly happy that they had managed to somehow, against all odds, get that arm back up and back, at least running a little bit. I hoped that nothing was wrong and that nothing shredded itself on the field, because I think there was a quick turnaround after that match, and we didn't really have time to fix anything if it went wrong again.
And sure enough, we make it into the queue line with a little time to spare, but it is stressful, because one of the things we do have to do is when we get to the queue, we've got to boot the robot and get its arm zeroed in this case. And that takes time. And if we're not able to do that before we get on the field, then the robot's not aligned correctly, and it just doesn't operate the way it was supposed to this year.
White bird.
Still trying to get it ready while moving over to the queue, and we basically got it done before the match, or at least we thought.
So, instantly, I freaked out, thought that something had gone wrong. Then, when I realized the arm was still functional and it was just in the wrong position, my mind started searching for different answers.
Yeah, so when the match started and the wrist wasn't moving, we all kind of got scared because we weren't entirely sure what was happening there.
Immediately, I basically knew, like, either it's broken or it just wasn't plugged in. And I didn't really know at the moment until after the match when we had to check it and found out that we just didn't plug it in.
One of our initial thoughts was that we had actually messed up the arm itself.
Our arm thought that where it was supposed to be was a different place. So it thought that 0 was not flat, but like there. And so then all of the positions were off by an extra amount.
I was thinking of what could have caused that and how we could try to score elements in some way. I was the driver, so I was talking with co-driver Zach of the steps that we were going to take to score the hatch panel, and what risks if he sees anything to raise up that arm and just forget about scoring.
Plan was basically raise and lower the arm until we can get it to the special spot just to place it on. So it was kind of like the arm goes up, the arm goes down. We try and get it hit the rocket ship at the midpoint through the transitions, and we did that successfully once.
Scoring that hatch panel was pretty cool. I wasn't entirely sure how they were going to do it.
That was hilarious. We had to almost destroy our robot in order to get that, because the arm went back into the robot and quite towards the delicate, important, and expensive electronics. So watching the robot do that was scary, but at the same time funny.
I don't know how they managed to get that on there, but very good driving.
What I was trying to do is I was trying to move up to level 1 so we could still get points. But then I was told that one of the other robots was going to climb onto that level 2 right behind me. So the only thing I thought it was get off that was move out of the way. So I turned the robot, and I should have driven forward, but I driven backwards and got to have the refs laugh at us of our lovely sticker.
Tipping is never fun. This one was especially not fun because we definitely could have avoided it.
It's happened before, and we know it can happen. It's always a bummer whenever we fall over. We try not to. Sometimes it happens, especially when our arm has to be in a high point, like when it was broken.
When we got off the platform and just fell over, I just bust out laughing. It was at that point, everything had gone wrong. There was nothing we could really do, and it was just hilarious.
We were paperweight for most of the match, or carpet weight in this case. And we, the end game had been predetermined on how we want to play it. We always coordinate that with our alliance partners. We quickly, when we realized we had a problem, we told our alliance partners, we can't do our normal climb at the end, so we're going to park. Well, the backup plan was for one of the other alliance members to climb on the second level, and our driver with time to kill just decided to get into position early, all of us forgetting that we needed to leave room for them to climb. So real quickly he turned and he went to back off. Well, because our arm was in a high position, totally changed our center of gravity. We hit that little bit of a ramp, we're over. That was one where I can honestly say we all laughed it off. It was unfortunate and it cost us a few points, but we were there to have a good time, and it was an honest flub, and it was making, we already had a broken robot. Everybody made the best of it, and we had a good laugh about it.
I learned that I should double check before enabling the robot, but also I should leave it to the other people, like the programmers that are always there doing it. It's just safer for them to do it, just in case there's another problem, not like the one that happened.
Always check for the mallet. When you think you shouldn't check for the mallet, check for the mallet.
So what I learned is we need to be more careful with our robots. So now we always double check that our for Outlaw, we double check that we remove the stick or the mallet, so we do not ever have this accident again.
Well, it was quite a unique experience. We'd had stuff break before, especially on those gearboxes, but we never had both break at the same time. And we'd never had the subsequent issues with the wrist that we had this time. So there was definitely a lot to be learned about how we can maintain our wrists and how the arm motors and how they work. And then we also had to be super careful from that point out that whenever we were resetting the robot, we always had to take that stick out. We always double checked it, just because we don't ever want that to happen again.
I think these on the field breaks, side of the field breaks are really a great moment for the students to come together and gel. I think that everybody knows at this point in the season, we've already played multiple events. We've been fixing this robot all season, so everybody knows how the robot operates. And so we always have some new students or some less experienced students interacting, but the senior students know what needs to happen. So you get to see all those students come together. All the egos are gone. All of the he did this, she did that. You broke this. Oh, you didn't do that right. All of that's gone, and they are 100% focused on how do we put this back together. And you'll see, one student with their head and the hands in the robot and going, I need a 3/8 wrench, and a 3/8 wrench appears in their hand, and they keep working. I need a 3/32 seconds hex. Boom, shows up. They're going, and it really is honestly a bonding time. These are the moments that the students talk about over and over after the event. They're like, oh, remember when that broke and how we all had to fix it, and all the things that happened. That's the stuff that the kids remember, and that's the stuff that you take away as the real learning moments of everything is clicked, and you've seen that all those lessons, everything you've been doing, have come together, and you're able to do something with it.
Scoring one element's better than 0.